Good evening. Welcome to Reflections on East Granby. Today's date is October 12th, 2013. Our guest tonight is Lorie Orzechowski. Did I pronounce that right?
You certainly
I got it. She lives on 6 Miller Road in East Granby. She's a native of Vernon, Connecticut. She was born on January 20th, 1947. She'll be our guest here tonight. So you were born in Vernon. Mm-hmm. Now, what was Vernon? What are your earliest memories of Vernon when growing up in Vernon?
Farm country, very
Really?
farm country. I grew up on a farm with 100 acres of land, and certainly has changed. My mother is still alive, living in the same home. She's going to be 90 next month, so she now has about an acre of land left. But
Really? So she sold off pieces of it?
We have. My memories are just working on the farm. My father worked at Hamilton, but at night, and then during the day he worked in the field. Strawberries, shrubs, cows, pigs, all kinds of. We had sheep, all kinds of stuff.
So you were born in 47. So that was not as common then, but prior to that wasn't that uncommon for people to farm and have a job.
No, absolutely.
I know
not.
my grandparents did that.
The men, and my mother
right.
stayed home. My mother didn't go to work outside of the home until my youngest sister was in kindergarten.
Okay. What were your parents' names? Or what is your mom's name?
My mother's name is Hilda.
Okay.
Hilda Kayan, and my dad is not alive. He died 4 years ago.
And what was his name?
His name was Ed. Edward.
Your maiden name was?
Kayan.
Kayan.
K-A-Y-A-N.
Okay. Siblings? Any siblings?
Oh yes, I'm the oldest of 7.
Okay. Pretty typical family size for
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah.
What do you want to rattle off your brothers and sisters' names?
Sure. They go girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, all the way down the line. So we always knew who was coming
Chronologically?
next. Yep.
Wow, what are the chances of that?
It was weird.
In a good
My next brother, Joe,
Yeah.
is a year and a half younger than I.
Okay.
And then I have a sister, Janet, who's 5 years younger than I am.
Okay.
Then I have, who's next? Jim. I can't remember how much younger he is.
Yeah.
Then Sue, those two were real close. And then, who am I missing? Bob
Okay.
and Paula.
This is a test, you know.
I know.
I hate putting people through this, especially when they're grandkids, because
I know.
sometimes they'll have 12 grandkids and they try to run all those. It can
No,
be.
we don't have any.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately.
Okay. So you grew up on a farm in Vernon. Now, describe life on the farm back then? What was it?
Well, in the summertime when we had strawberries, it was get up before the sun came up, because we used to have to pick strawberries to take them to market. And
Really?
Be at market by 5 o'clock.
That was
in the
after
morning.
school was out, though, huh? Generally.
No, it was June. So
Okay.
it was mostly after school was out, but yeah. No, we got up very early. My mother used to go out and work. I didn't like the farm at all.
Okay.
So, being the oldest, I stayed inside and took care of cooking and cleaning and taking care of the younger kids. And she would go outside, and now she laughs because now I am the farmer. I have horses right here in Granby.
Right.
So I'm there twice a day, and I love farming now, but I didn't love it then.
It's work for little kids.
Yeah.
Where'd you go to school?
Vernon schools. I went
Okay.
to college at St. Joseph's in West Hartford.
Okay. So what elementary school did you go to?
Vernon Elementary. It's no longer an elementary school. It's
Okay.
where they house, I think, government offices and things there now. It's right on Route 30.
Okay. So what Vernon? You said Vernon was a lot of farms then. It's much different today.
Oh yeah.
So it's just it was at the post-war kind of suburban development really hit Vernon quite dramatically. Huh? Yeah. Was it okay? So you went to school. You went to elementary school, and you went to middle school.
I went to middle school in Rockville. That was supposed to be the big city.
Okay.
Rockville is actually part of Vernon.
Right.
So we went to Rockville was kind of nice then. It isn't. It's kind of gone downhill a little bit, but
Right.
The middle school was Sykes Junior High, and it was actually 3 buildings. So we thought it was kind of cool because we could go to classes in some building and then we'd have to walk across the city street to go to another.
Like the big city for farm kids.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So what, and that was a good experience? You enjoyed that?
Yes.
Yeah. So now Rockville is a section. It's be like Thompsonville is to Enfield or something like that. Rockville was always fairly developed, right? I mean, not always, but
Right, right.
more industrial. Yeah. Is that, and then where'd you go to high school?
Rockville High.
Okay. So the big schools were built in Rockville. Yeah. Okay. So what any school day memories that you want to share? Anything come to mind?
I knew from a very young age that I wanted to continue school.
Okay.
I love school. I used to play school. I'm still playing school because I'm still a teacher.
Right.
So I could deal with one of the cutest things that I could remember is that we had a dog that didn't like it when we went to school or when we left home.
Okay.
And we didn't live too far. We walked to school at Vernon Elementary.
Right.
She used to follow us. And she would find us in the classroom. She'd get in the building. They weren't locked then. She'd get in the building and she'd come to find one of us in one of the rooms.
Oh, really? She'd come looking for you?
You look
Oh,
down.
that-
Or sometimes you'd hear the principal calling, "One of the Kayan children, please come to the office."
Are you?
Bring the dog home.
Oh no! So you were within walking distance.
Oh,
so
yeah.
So
Yeah.
most of the elementary schools, were built that way. They were in different sections.
Yeah.
Great. That's great. So, sounds like a fairly interesting, bucolic
It was.
little.
And one of the
child.
fields on the walking, the way that most kids had to walk to Vernon Elementary, was one of our fields was right on the side of it. And I wasn't, like I said, I didn't like farming. I wasn't really impressed with it at all. My dad would be out in the field, and I loved my dad dearly, but I didn't love the fact that he had to work so hard in that field. So I was kind of a brat, I guess. I can remember sometimes saying, "Oh, there's your dad out there, his pants, or he needs to pull up his pants," or something. "Oh, that's not my dad, that's a hired help."
Yeah. So you're a little.
Yeah, I was embarrassed by it.
Yeah. Well.
Not anymore.
No. Anyway, so that's interesting. So you graduated high school. Where'd you go from there?
St. Joseph's College.
Okay. In West
West
Hartford.
Hartford.
Yeah. So that was a teaching college even then. That's been
No, it was.
a teacher's college.
It was not necessarily teachers, although they have excellent education courses. I would. They have excellent special ed.
Right.
I didn't go for that, but I'm glad that I had the experience of being able to take some of those classes there. I went for math, and I knew I wanted to be a math teacher, but I went because the math program there was very strong.
So you were born in '47. You were like one of the original baby boomers, really. I mean, that's like the first big wave of new children. So the era that you were getting into teaching, it was explosive growth in education. I mean, there was schools popping up everywhere. So it was a good field to get into.
Yeah.
What was the? So were you still living at home when you went to St. Joseph's, or did you?
No,
Okay.
When I was 16, I got a job at W.T. Grant's, which opened up in Vernon Circle. I don't know if you know where that is, but
I do. I was
yeah.
there a couple of weeks ago, actually, with the remnants of the arcade there.
Yep. Well, there was just that strip where, trying to think what's there. The grocery store that's there. And Home Goods and TJ Maxx. There was just one little strip there, not a lot of.
ShopRite there now?
Yeah, I think, yes,
strip. Yeah,
ShopRite.
right.
That's where Grant's was.
Okay.
And that was like a 2-minute walk from my home.
Okay.
So I went right as soon as I turned 16 and got a job, and worked all through college there also. And when I applied for scholarships, I was lucky enough to get a full scholarship from W.T. Grant.
Really?
Yeah.
So they had an in-house scholarship
yeah.
program.
I even have a letter signed by W.T. Grant.
Really?
It was pretty neat. But
That's good.
so I was able to live on campus. I never would have been able to if I didn't have a scholarship.
Financially.
Right.
Yeah, so this is mid-60s. Yeah. Okay, so what was your experience at college? Was good? I mean, you had
Yeah. I loved it. It was small, similar to probably East Granby School. It was small, and you had a lot of opportunities because it was a small school, and maybe opportunities that you wouldn't have gotten or taken if you were in a larger community. So I really did love that. I've always been involved in music, so I was able to be in the choir, and I got paid organ lessons. I was given organ lessons from an incredible organist if I played Mass during the week, because he didn't want to play 5 o'clock Mass during
so he
the week.
Traded with you.
So he traded. He gave me lessons, and that was so I had a lot of really good opportunities. And
So
we're close to
a women's
Elizabeth Park.
college,
It
or-
was. It's still,
yeah, it still is. Yeah.
Well, they allow men in some of
Other
the
sexes.
and from other they allow men in other programs,
Okay.
not so many during the day. Our year, they allowed men to come, and there were 5 that started out with us, and only one graduated with us
Really?
because the others were.
It's going to be a weird experience.
It
to
was
be the
very
only-
weird. Well,
or one of the only guys.
they thought it was wonderful. They did. That's why they didn't make it.
So that was an interesting experience. So you graduate from St. Joseph's with a degree in teaching,
Math education.
math
yeah.
education, and where'd you go from there?
I taught in Talland. I
Okay.
got my first job in Talland Middle School, and we were on double sessions because the middle school was not built yet, and so I taught in the afternoon into the evening for almost the first year. Got $5,700 and thought that was wonderful.
Shoot, big money back then, right? Well, buying power of $5,700 was pretty good.
Right.
And what was a new car? It was probably what, $3,000. So you could have bought 2 brand new cars.
Right.
It's a pretty good.
I
income.
bought one.
So you started out and you're teaching math. Are you still living at home?
I did live at home, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Until
I got married.
Take us forward from there. You started.
I think it was a year later or so. Mike and I met at St. Bernard's in Rockville
Okay.
at a dance,
Yep.
and then the next year we were married. So
Wow.
I stayed home until I was married.
That was a very common theme then. People didn't date for long periods of time. They met somebody at very bang, bang, bang
Right.
back in that day.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that was, so you got married, and where'd you go? Where'd you move from there?
We lived in East Hartford for a while. We moved around a lot. We lived in East Hartford. We went to Rockville again. We moved to another place in Vernon. Then we moved to New Britain, all related to his work.
Okay.
And because then I had our daughters, and I wasn't working.
And how many daughters?
2.
And what are their names?
Mary Ann's the oldest. Lisa's the younger one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So then we went.
And what year did you have them? What was the?
Mary Ann was born in 1973, and Lisa
Okay.
was born in 1974.
Oh, okay. So
We weren't
Now-
supposed to have any, so they came very quickly, and we were happy to have them.
that's I bet.
Yeah.
So you moved. You were where did you settle down once you had a family? Once you had.
Well, that's when we were moving around because he
Oh,
was,
okay.
and then we finally settled in. He got a job at Hamilton, so we found a place. That's when we moved to East Granby, and we bought one of the condos at Granby Village when they first were switched over from apartments
In East Granby.
in East Granby.
Okay,
yeah.
so which one are those? Which one are Granby Village? There's a couple.
Seymour on
So if
Seymour
you're on
Road.
the left or the right,
Depends on which way you're
going east towards the
Oh
highway.
gosh, toward the highway, it's on the right.
Okay, so that big
The
complex
yeah,
there.
yeah,
There's different buildings.
They are now.
Yeah.
Now, back then it was.
So
just
they were
the gold
apartments.
ones. They were apparently apartments. We didn't know that, and then they switched over to condos.
Okay.
And
What year was it about? Was
that was in oh gosh, 79, I think.
So it was the first.
Yeah.
Now, what brought you to? What brought you to East Granby? How did you?
We wanted to be closer to his work.
Hamilton.
So we found and we.
But there's a lot of. Windsor Locks. Did you look in
Yeah.
all the surrounding towns?
Not at that point. We saw these condos that we felt we could afford, and
Okay.
we bought it. We looked at the.
No big
we looked
process.
at the. No, never.
No, okay.
We looked at the model. It looked wonderful.
Yeah.
And the other units weren't renovated like that, so we had to do a lot of work. But
Okay.
It was a wonderful place to be for our kids.
Okay, great.
I remember when we first moved there, and other people didn't think it was, necessarily the greatest place to be, but it was a wonderful place for our kids.
Was it?
They met a lot of kids their ages, and a big playground, and had a pool that we spent much of their time there, and they made a lot of friends. It was a great place. We made a lot of friends there too.
That's what it's all about, right?
Yep.
The people you're surrounded by.
Yep.
So, okay, so you lived there for how long?
6 or 7 years, and then we moved to Miller Road.
Now, where were you working at the time?
I wasn't then. I was home. I was
Okay.
substituting in East Granby and Windsor and Granby. And then I said I've got to go back to work full time. So I got a job at LP Wilson Middle School in Windsor,
Okay.
and that was just a 1-year job because it was replacing someone that was on a maternity leave.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next year I went to Sage Park in Windsor under the same kind of thing.
Still
And
teaching math?
Still teaching math.
Okay.
Went back to LP Wilson, then went back to Sage Park and got a job that I've had for the last 30 years.
So you did something right. You stuck around. Okay, so you were you were in the condos, and you said you moved to Miller Road. And where in Miller?
6 Miller.
6. Well, you told us. But what did you consider other towns at that point?
Yes, we
Yeah.
did. We considered Windsor,
Okay.
thinking that we could get a bigger house or whatever for the same price.
Okay.
The kids didn't want to move out of East Granby, and they had a sit-down strike in the kitchen, said they weren't going. They were going to be sold.
That'll have an effect. Yeah.
We looked in Windsor
Now,
Locks.
how old were they at the time?
I don't remember.
So when did you move to Miller? You said 6 or 7 years.
86, I think it was
86. So they would have been in.
Yeah, they were in
4th, 5th grade.
Well, they were a little older than that, I think.
Middle
I
school.
don't know. Yeah.
So they went to school. Did they start? They started school in East Granby.
Mary Ann started school in New Britain,
Okay.
and then Lisa started in East Granby. No, I think they both started in New Britain.
But the first few years, and then they were
Yeah,
immediately. So
right.
they went to Algrove
Yep.
initially.
Yeah.
What was your experience in that era with the schools in East
I
Granby?
thought they were wonderful.
Were they?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
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 So you had a very good experience with
Yeah.
your kids. Yeah.
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 And what was the? So they went from there to Seymour
Mm-hmm.
in the same, in a good teachers and good support and all that.
Yeah.
And then from there they
We
went,
went to East Granby High.
East Granby, and they had a high school at that point because I
Yep.
know prior, just not that far before then, they didn't have a high school.
Well, the high school and the middle school were combined.
Okay.
It's just like now, although it wasn't quite the same as now. It was added on,
Right.
but
And that worked out well for them also.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So getting back to your career, you were in at the Sage Park. You said Sage Park, and that was you were teaching. Are you still teaching math? Is
I
that
sure am.
really? So 30 years of
33 years.
33 years of teaching math.
Yeah.
What just reflecting on that, what's changed the most in that discipline in terms of teaching math? I mean, or has it?
Oh yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of changes. Teaching math, we used to have way more levels than we have now. When I first started teaching, I had to have 5 preparations, 5 levels of math. Now I only have 2.
When you say levels, what is that?
Ability levels, but what they claimed ability levels. So there was an algebra. I teach 8th grade, so there was an algebra class. Then there was a high honors algebra, pre-algebra. There was a lower, supposedly lower level pre-algebra. There was an 8th grade math, and then there was a class of basic math for kids that struggled in math. No.
So you taught 5 separate classes of math at different. Now, and now they're down to what, 2 each?
2, yeah. Algebra and pre-algebra, that's it.
Is that good?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you think it was a redundant kind of.
Right. And I also think that kids, depending upon what you're teaching them, can move up, especially if they've got support from other kids in the room that understand it. We do a lot more group work and whatever, so they can help each other.
So how do you account for the different levels now? How do you, because obviously you're going to have kids that would have been in your advanced algebra class previously that are now in the same class or the same teaching format with kids that are in just regular algebra.
Yeah.
So how do they deal with that now?
We do a lot of group work.
So you split them into groups in the class. Oh, okay. So they still segregate the kind of not segregate, but
we put
that's
the
a bad word.
different we do the different levels within the same group so that kids can help each other. We have a special ed para or a special ed teacher in the room frequently. I have an intern this year who's wonderful.
Right.
Lessons are varied so that they include a lot of games, a lot of PowerPoint presentations, smartboard lessons. There's a lot more technology that helps out, and so there's a lot of things to help.
Do you think the end result though is better?
Yeah.
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 What was? I guess everybody talks about teaching to the test now. Do you find is that one of the ways that they've dealt with that, is to kind of lump them together and make sure everybody's moving forward in a group?
No, you want kids to move forward the best they possibly can.
Okay.
To their own ability.
Okay.
I'm hoping in the future that there isn't going to be so much teaching to the test, and that now we do things called map testing, where each student is also hopefully going to be working toward, we do it 3 times a year, so that hopefully you can see progress and you're working with kids at their own level and trying to help them improve their skills.
So the whole idea is to almost personalize each child's education.
Yeah.
And the map testing should allow for that. Okay.
Right.
So other than just the basics of the way it's taught, any other differences in teaching in 30 years?
Oh, absolutely.
What are they?
Behavior.
Oh yeah, you haven't.
Behavior is definitely different.
Yeah, in what way?
Well, kids are not afraid to say much of anything in school today.
Really? That's a problem.
But our kids are pretty respectful, but they feel more they feel more comfortable, I think, than kids used to. I know when I was in school, I kind of feared my teacher. I don't think too many kids fear me, or too many other teachers. You want to be friendly with them, support them, but I think that the whole thing it's changed a lot in terms of the culture between teacher and student than it was years ago.
If you were going to unchange one thing, what would it be?
Unchange one thing.
That's not the proper way to add, but my point is that if there was something do you think anything's been lost?
I think we sometimes, at least in my school,
Yeah.
we reward kids for lots of things that they should just want to do without having to be rewarded.
Okay. Can you explain that a little bit?
They have a program called the VIP program. Everybody gets privileges from the beginning. They don't have to earn them. They just get a privilege because they're there. I think they should have to earn them.
Okay.
And they lose them
Makes
after.
sense.
After they do something, they lose the privileges. But I think they should have to earn privileges a little bit more.
Right. A sense of ownership that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know. There's not a lot I would change. That's why I'm still teaching.
Well, the kids are different, so I'm assuming the educational system has morphed to kind of deal with them on their level at some point. Okay, so is there anything that you would do different? I'm not saying that was done previously. Is there anything you would do differently in teaching? What if you had if you could add one wish for, say, your school or for the education system in general, what would it be? That's a big question, isn't it?
It's a huge question. I don't know.
You don't have to answer it. I mean, it's just it's a thought that I have.
Yeah,
I always like
yeah.
to. You've got a lot of experience. I'm trying to pick your brain. You know.
I'm not sure I can answer that.
Yeah. Is it why?
I don't know if I can. I just
Oh.
don't know if I can. I'd have to really think about it.
Okay. Well, if you think of something, we'll come back to it.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you're teaching. Your kids are going to school. Your husband's working at Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
You're married. You're living in Miller Road. What was it about East Granby? You've been in East Granby now for 30 some odd years. What are the biggest changes in East Granby that you've seen?
More development.
Yeah.
Biggest changes on our street. We're the oldest people on the street instead of being one of the younger ones.
In age or in
Yes,
residency?
Yeah. No, not in residence. We have a neighbor who grew up in the home that she's still in.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually, we have two neighbors that
Grew up on Miller Road?
Yeah.
That's unusual.
Yeah. No, I don't know. More development, more businesses.
Okay.
I don't know.
Is there anything that you would change about East Granby? I mean, is there anything that we always call this once again the magic wand question? If you could do one thing, what would it be for? I mean, it could be. We've had people say everything from a big theme park to to a bagel shop. You know what I mean? What is it that you would, if you had? It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't, or it could be big, and it doesn't have to be realistic. I mean, we're just trying to get ideas, you know.
Well, I'd like to see something, some business make it at one of the places that I loved years ago, Van Noort's Nursery.
Which was where?
The building that's, I think it's vacant. I don't know. They've had several things there. It's across the street from the Congregational Church, sort of down closer to the highway. If you're going toward the airport,
Yeah.
It's on the right after the Congregational Church. Used to be a nursery there. It was wonderful. It was owned by Nick
Really?
and Rosemary Van Noort's, and it was a beautiful place.
Where, just geographically, where was it? You've got right across. You have like Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
The next building is like a medical center.
Yeah, and it was right after that.
Oh, I know where you're talking.
Yeah.
Where Bittersweet Bakery was.
That's right. Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. See that? It was. The
And I don't
nursery.
think there's anything in there anymore.
So you'd like to see something vibrant
I'd like
in
to
there.
see something.
What
yeah.
would you like to see in there?
Well, my daughter keeps saying she wants to open a soup shack someday. That might be a neat place to do something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But something.
Yeah.
Just a little more vibrancy.
That was a beautiful little place.
Yeah. It's a beautiful building.
It is.
Yeah. It's nice the way when you pull in there. It's almost like you're in a wildlife refuge or something.
Well, that's what it was like.
Was it? Yeah. Is that why there's so much planting around it and stuff? Interesting.
It's
Okay.
beautiful.
So, is there anything that you missed from other than the nursery? Is there anything that you missed from the when you first came here? Is there anything that? No. Pretty much been static in many ways. Okay. Is there about the development of the town center and all that sort of stuff? Is there anything that you could comment on or feel that you might have done differently? Or it's not. Once again, these aren't criticisms; they're just ideas of what can happen in the future. You know.
I kind of like it staying the way it is. I don't want it to get overly developed.
Okay.
So
Hit the pause button.
I think so, but who knows? Other people probably don't feel the same way. But
Well, it's all about you tonight.
I know.
We don't care what anybody else thinks tonight. So anyway, so you've got a fairly big period of time that you were in town. Is there any characters that you remember that from your experience? Well, what do you were you involved with anything in town? Did you ever do anything? Board-wise or
No, I was on the board of Granby Village, and
the senior housing?
no, the where we lived in the condos.
Oh, the condos.
I was on the board. No, I was on the board there.
Yeah.
And I can remember at one point another person, and I can't remember his name now, who said he wanted me to run for selectman because I have a big mouth and I was a woman. I said, no,
big part of what got you elected, I think.
No, I don't want to do anything
It's an
like
interesting
that.
way to define.
Lots of opinions, he said.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
whatever, but
Is it somebody that's still around that said
no,
that?
no, I
Okay.
can't remember who it was.
Yeah.
But no, in terms of the only other thing that I am very active is in St. Bernard's Church. I'm
In
music
Terriffill.
director and
Yeah.
organist there, and
Oh.
I've done that for as long as we've lived here.
Now, there's a lot of congregants from East Granby there, aren't there?
Oh yes.
Yeah, it's a big part of their congregation.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So, if you were, this is as an educator, this is a question that I ask everybody. If you were to give advice to children growing up today, is there anything that you would, if you could? I mean, you've probably given advice to hundreds and upon hundreds of kids. But what is it that you, if you were to kind of summarize your many years of teaching wisdom and raising kids yourself, and what advice would you give to kids?
I give to kids probably the best advice I give them is to read them the book, Dr. Seuss's book, Oh, the Places You Go.
Really?
And just to encourage them to do their best and realize that they can meet all the dreams that they want if they work hard enough.
Interesting. So, Dr. Seuss's, what was that?
Oh, the Places You'll Go.
Oh, the places you'll go. I probably read that when I was young and I've lost track of it.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's great. So, is there anything else that you wanted to any other story? When people get a little older, I try to kind of preface this in a broad way, but I often find that there's stories they find themselves repeating. Experiences they've had. The older they get, the more they repeat the same. Sometimes, but it's because those are highlights in their life. It's not because they can't remember they told people, but they find themselves focused on big events. Is there anything that you find yourself repeating? That, I mean, you've had a lot of like chrysalis moment. You moved, you got married, but is there any experiences that you find?
Biggest experience is family, which I still have. Still the oldest of 7 children, and my mother has 19 grandchildren.
Wow.
Where family gets bigger and bigger as the grandchildren marry and have their own children and whatever. And my mother's still alive. We were just there today with her. And to me, the biggest thing that anybody can possibly do in their life is stay close to their family.
Right. Yeah, a lot of other things in life come and go, but your family is always
That's
there.
right.
And
Right.
there's such a depth of kind of emotion there. So, and you've successfully done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever have family get-togethers or
All the time.
reunions?
All the time.
Really? That's great. So that must be a pretty big gathering. Huh?
Oh, it is.
That's fun. Yeah, it's good to hear. So, all right. Well, I appreciate you coming on tonight. It's always a pleasure to kind of reach out and kind of get the different perspectives from town. And next, we're going to interview your husband. So we're going to fact check some of the stuff that you. Anyway, I just appreciate you coming on, Lorie.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Thank you for joining us here tonight with Miss Orzechowski. And we will be viewing, you can view this on GCTV, Channel 16 on the Cox network, and also online on www.gctv16.org. And you can pull up the reflections prompt and watch us anytime you like. Have a good night. Thank you.